The Cascade Mountains of Washington are a beautiful place, and my friends have a tiny house with this incredible view. I got to go visit them and stay over, and my friend said we should go to the antique store in town. I've only been to this one once. I've never shown you folks, and I am excited to see what they have now. I am in Cle Elum, Washington. What's a Cle Elum? Well, we'll talk about that. But we are going to this great place. My friend Laurel is here with me. I'm so excited. She's going to do a little of the filming, but you will get to see her. We are at Tuckaway Antiques. This is the only antique mall in town. And it is here because we are in a surprising tourist area. We'll talk about that too, so stay tuned. Here's my friend Laurel, and she is gonna let us in. They said we can film, and we're gonna have some fun here. So this is an antique mall, and they're also gonna have some Western clothing and things because a lot of places like this, you know, they mix vintage clothing and concert shirts and things that are the new generation of vintage in with old antique things. So it's gonna be fun to see what they have. Interesting. So this actually, I thought it was Cossack, and so did Laurel, but it says it's made in France, and it's a linen hat. And I guess there is the made in France label there with the micro beading. This is something I'm sure is a folk tradition from somewhere in France that I don't know. And it looks like from the beading, this is probably 1950s. It's $22. What do you think?
Ooh, it's super cute. You wear it well.
Okay, so we were wondering what the dogs were up to here. They are German Shepherds, but they are actually Japanese German Shepherds, and it says so right on the bottom. I can't remember which company had the clover leaf mark, but it says Japan rather than made in Japan. So this is post-war. This is going to be 1950s. People love their Shepherds.
Yeah, but interesting to have that German-Japan alliance going on.
Yeah, interesting. Yes, the Axis powers of pottery. Yes. Actually, we got a lot of our pottery from them before the war and then didn't get any, and that's why there were so many California pottery companies. Lots of cute cups and saucer here. This is Noritake, also 1950s.
Oh, and this is one of the first things you taught me about.
Oh, yes, Holt pottery.
I still have one.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Laurel came on her spring break and worked for me when I had a staff turnover and kind of saved my bacon. So I guess that sort of kicked off your interest in this stuff. This is $50 minus 25%, which is a pretty good price. This is Czech, and it's going to say so probably in an etched mark on the bottom that we can't see, but it definitely is 1930s Czech spatter glass, which is starting to be more collectible. I'm seeing prices starting to rise on this. So this little piece is Desco ware from Belgium, and it looks a lot like Le Creuset, but this is the mark on the bottom, and it's collectible and prices like Le Creuset. It's actually pretty good stuff in the enamelware, and it's even got the made in Belgium mark on the bottom. People find these very curious because they look at these weird shapes and think, what is this for? But this is actually a cheese dome. Cheese came in wedges at the deli, and then you wanted to cover it to keep it fresh. And so you would actually have one of these. This is probably 1930s, and it's got an English mark on the bottom. They're almost all British. And this one with the discount is $30. Kind of a fun and interesting singular thing to collect. People use them for butter now.
There'll be a lot of butter.
This is a pretty piece of glass, and it's Victorian era. It goes from clear to purple, which is a little bit unusual. Purple colors are always harder to find in glass because the stuff that they use to make purple is bad for the kiln, so the companies don't make it for very long, but it comes in and out of style. It's got a nice polished bottom and all of this enameling here with the florals, and is priced again at $30. I like this sale they're having.
I love this. It looks like something Jeff Bezos would wear at an Amazon party.
Yes, exactly. The swoosh. That's great. There's some really good jewelry in here, though. That one's fun. It's $20. It says that it's just clear rhinestone, which it is. But this piece here, these are Czechoslovakian beads from the 30s, and it's got the ear clips, too, in that Chinese red color, which is neat. And they want $66 for it, but because it has all three pieces, that's actually not a bad deal. This is kind of neat, this purple and blue too. That's very 60s looking. I'm looking to see, it is prong set too, so it is 60s. There's a lot of new Chinese stuff that kind of looks like that, but it's not prong set and it's glued in. And as soon as it's a hot day, the stones start falling out. So look for the prong set, it's better. And I like these flower power down here too. Any of these enamel pin sets from the 70s or something I always look for now. Yeah, they've got a lot of jewelry actually. It's nice to see. We don't always see jewelry in some of these more rural places like this, but they get so many people passing through from the big city that there's an interest in it here. I've never flown KLM. I've sold these bottles for years, but you said that on the flight they actually come and present an entire tray of them?
They did. They gave me, they put the tray in front and they said, go on, take one. And I didn't know why. They were like, they're very collectible. You should get one. So, and my husband didn't want one, so he actually gave me his too. So.
Nice. Oh, that's great. And they've got a little sticker on the back that says that they were KLM. Did you say yours didn't say Holland?
I didn't think it had that.
Yeah, they might be made elsewhere now. It may be that the older ones are made in the Delft region of Holland and the new ones may not be.
Maybe they're made in China. Yeah, because they don't have stickers on them either. They do say KLM, but they don't have... But they've been doing it for years, so I think they keep probably changing where they get them.
Yeah, I imagine that's right. Interesting. So I really like the color of this chartreuse and black, this Formica table here. I just am not finding Formica tables anymore.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like the color.
It's totally jet set, kind of 60s jet set.
Absolutely, with the hairpin legs and the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Well,
Speaking of
cute.
Holland, I like this little tulip scarf.
Oh, that is nice. Oh, and it's from somewhere, huh? $3.75. Yeah, hankies are inexpensive in stores, and they're really cute and colorful. I mean, I know people who are using them in scrapbooking or sewing quilts together out of them. I mean, it's not just for blowing your nose anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is too pretty to blow your nose. I thought that was broccoli.
And here is a good price. You know, I think that these American oak tables, the prices have gotten so low. If you can find them nicely refinished and sturdy like this, and this one is pretty sturdy because they could get rickety, but this one's pretty solid and it's $86.50. And this is from about 1900. It's got the wide rays that they used to use in oak at the time. Now they don't let the trees grow old enough to get those rays in the patterning. So we're starting to see younger people like millennial age that are now starting to get houses looking at some of this old brown furniture again because it's so much less expensive than anything new.
It's really cool. I love the chicken feet.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yes, the ball and claw, but it's got the that's like the bird legs, the claws. That is really cool. Yeah. The collector's story of the Beatles, complete story. I remember when you and I were big Beatles fans.
Oh, absolutely. We were just in the middle of that documentary, Get Back.
Oh, really?
It's like 7 hours.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was that long. Is it good?
It's fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're in the room with the Beatles while they're recording Let It Be, like the album, and it's like backstage with them, thinking up the songs. You see them. I don't know if this is interesting.
The whole process,
yeah. The whole process of them writing the songs and coming up with the melodies and coming up with the lyrics, and you like know what's gonna happen.
Right, because we all know how it turned out.
Exactly, and it's actually fascinating.
Oh, that's really cool. Rock t-shirts, boy, you know, there's double stitch and then single stitch, and I have to learn more about that. The old double stitch stuff is selling for really good money now because that's the vintage that people got at concert. The single stitch is usually newer stuff that, you know, people are doing remakes.
Selling at Target.
Exactly. Absolutely right. Yeah. Tina Turner. I really enjoyed seeing her in concert, actually. I'm so glad I got a chance.
I love how John Mellencamp signed this, so it looks like he has a weird mustache.
Yes, that's very funny. So we're in the 20% off shelf here. And I do think that with the pink colors coming back into style, Holt Pottery is starting to come with it. So this one is $30 with the discount. So this set here is Time Life, and these are the various books of the West, and it's an entire series. In fact, they have the Master Index. These were very popular in the 70s and 80s, and they were sold one at a time by sort of a subscription basis. But this particular series has actually kept its value because there's a lot of good information about the Old West in it, and there's been so many people move this direction that they're curious about coming to places like this and finding out why it's the way it is. And this talks about everything from the cowboys to the Mexican-American War to the Canadians. Wow.
So progressive.
Yeah. Okay, so I spotted this one, and this is also Czech glass with the spatter, and it is very hard to see a signature on the bottom. So the person who has this does not realize it because they have it priced at $21 and they usually sell for about double that. So this is my first thing to take to the counter. Okay.
What is it?
Well, it's a squeeze box or an accordion with wood inlay. It's kind of, well, we can show you how accordions look on the inside, I guess. It looks like it needs a little bit of repair, but there's your bellows. And it's basically a reed instrument like a woodwind. So you see all the different keys listed on here.
Look at the gorgeous inlay. Did you see that?
The inlay is really nice on this. Yeah, it's probably Italian. A lot of these are. And if it was in perfect shape, I would take it apart and play it for you. Oh, well, we can a little if I'm very careful. The keys all seem to work. I'm a big fan of these, so I had to pick it up. These are, this one's probably a piano shawl. There were shawls people wore before people really wore coats as well. And this one is silk. It says it's Italian for a table. Let's open it up and see if it has any runs, because it's priced at $36, which is not a bad deal. There's the Made in Italy stamp, so they were right about Italian. And I like them because they look, you can show them from either side and they're interesting. It does have a few runs, but the colors are strong. It hasn't been in the sun. If it was just a few dollars less, I would probably take it, so I'm going to keep that one in mind. I could actually put it on. It's a little hot for a shawl today. So Laurel pointed this out, and I think he's great. I'm going to leave him in the case, but he's another Czechoslovakian piece from the 30s. About the same time the glass was made, they were doing a lot of pottery, and I just love that face. He's a little creamer, and, well, actually, I do want to get him out and see if I can figure out what the price is, because he might have to come with. Now, the rule in antique stores is if it doesn't have a lock and it doesn't say do not open, you can. Just be gentle. And this one is $49, which is more than I would want to pay for it, but it is very sweet. All right, we're in Birdland here, and these are Holt Howard. And these are the little, I guess they could be for nuts or individual ashtrays or just to put little sauces or hors d'oeuvres. And it's only $15 for the 3, which is a good deal. This is called the Coq Rouge pattern. And this one's got just a little wear there, but I still think for that price, they're certainly worth double or more than that. So I think I'm going to put them up at the counter. This place actually has some good deals. I just sold a picnic set like this, and this they have 95 on this. I think I got about that for mine. The handles on all the utensils are Bakelite, and then in this particular one they put 2 thermoses, and they certainly look right. I don't know if that's what was there originally, but something similar to that. And then you have this nice suitcase, and you fold it up. This is going to be 1940s, and then you just pick it up and take it with you, and that's your picnic. Which is nice because, you know, you watch old episodes of Mad Men, and they show very accurately people going out and having a picnic in the park with their paper plates and then just like throwing it all on the ground and leaving. It was a different time, and people didn't think about littering. They just figured someone's job is to come clean this up. So this was nice because at least you took it with you. Where Blenko Glass is concerned, I'm starting to really like these solid color pieces because we see the frosted where you see through in the bottom, but some of these solid color in ombre I think are really interesting. This is a set of 6 and they are priced at $60, so $10 a piece. And for Blendo now, it's really not a bad deal. This little vase here, I walked up at first thinking it was Van Briggle, and as soon as I picked it up, it's not nearly as thick and heavy. And when you turn it over, the dealer has Briggle ? And it's priced at $24.95. And what it actually is Roslyn pottery, which was out of the Dakotas. Sometimes it has an ink stamp and sometimes it doesn't. But they did do an ombre glaze, somewhat similar to Van Briggle. They weren't in production as long, and they mostly did smaller pieces, but it definitely has the look for a lot less than a Van Briggle piece of the same size. So, and these are cute too, actually. I just noticed these. Art Nouveau with the nice painting on them. It's a French company from Limoges, and I think these were done at the factory. I don't think these were done by an amateur painter because they don't have a second signature. And they're asking $30 for the pair. I think they're just really nicely done. I know some people really enjoy mixing and matching china patterns these days. It used to be everything had to be the same, and now people are free to kind of just have what they like, and they might do a color theme, or they might just have a random array of everything. Carnival glass here. Nice little jar here with the grape pattern on it. And this one, now this is a problem with carnival glass. Someone has cleaned this, and they've cleaned it to the point where they've actually taken away some of the carnival iridescence, and it's gone kind of dark there. And that is an unfortunate thing, but it's a cute piece in good shape otherwise for $70. Really packed, actually. Yeah, this place, you know, when you're renting a space and you're paying rent, you pack it full. I know some people, they like a more Spartan display where they're showing furnishings and nice things separated, but you know, as a dealer, I have to admit I'm more inclined to pack it in because you never know who comes and what they're going to want. This is another pretty painted covered dish. I wonder if this is also French or if this is actually early Nippon. We'll take a look. The hand painting looks like 1920s, and there's our mark on the bottom. And I actually am leaning towards this being a Japanese piece that was exported probably before 1910. We didn't really require them to put Nippon on things until about the time of the First World War. So that's my guess as to who made that, and it's $40. Oh, and behind is something interesting. I hadn't even noticed this when I went back there. These were given away by one of the department stores in Seattle way back, and this is showing the Sweetbriar Bride of Seattle. This was the first woman in Seattle to get married, and they show their house in 1853 when the town was only 2 years old, and they had the wonderful view of the Olympics from West Seattle, what we call West Seattle now, but with no windows, yes.
To keep the Seattle damp out.
And the critters, yes, exactly. So you just had to walk out your door, and if it wasn't a cloudy day, you could see those nice mountains. There's another one that's a bigger plate that shows she and her betrothed canoeing across Elliott Bay to get to the justice of the peace or whoever married them at the time. And this one's priced at $24.95 because this is something that's kind of they were done about 1900 because they have an English mark on them. But I think it might have been Frederick and Nelson's or one of those department stores that sold those at the time. And this was right at the end of Pioneer Days, so people were sort of fascinated by it all.
You bought a set of that, or it's just one?
You could buy a whole set of it if you wanted, but I think most people just did it as a one-off, just as a novelty. Now, this is something that we're going to find in this area. This is from British Columbia, but it's related to mining. And Cle Elum was originally a mining town, and so is the town next door, which we're going to show you next. People ask, how can a town of under 2,000 people support an antique mall? Well, Cle Elum is on the big freeway between Seattle and Spokane, but the real secret can be found in the neighboring town of Roslyn, Washington. Roslyn, Washington was a small and rundown former coal mining town when Hollywood decided this would be the perfect stand-in for the fictitious town of Cicely, Alaska on northern exposure, and Roslyn suddenly became famous. This building, which was the doctor's office on the show, is now a gift store full of northern exposure items. Thousands of people come here to see where the show was filmed, and all of these old buildings that were run down and falling down are now full of specialty stores, and that is why neighboring Cle Elum can support an antique mall. And if you're thirsty, stop at The Brick. This has been here since 1889 as the oldest continually operating tavern in the state of Washington. Yes, it stayed open all through Prohibition. In the meantime, we'll open this up. I see a lot of mining stuff in Kentucky too, and this is a pretty standard first aid kit, even though it's got the official British Columbia Department of Mines on it. This is very typical from the 1940s and 50s. The first aid kit has all the stuff you need down in the mine, like burn ointment, probably best if used in 1952, roller bandages, all the good stuff, a little light bulb in case you lost your light and your miner's lamp. So, you know, pretty smart stuff, because if you're deep in a mine and something happens, well, you better be prepared. So this is it. And this one is priced at $24.
How would you have used that light bulb in there?
It would go in this little miner's lamp from the same era. And so it's a really tiny little bulb. It's just basically to get you out of the mine. If your regular helmet and equipment for some reason stopped working, then you have this little thing that clips on that will get you to somewhere. I got stuck in Newberry Crater. I went, they would give you lanterns and you'd carry them. And I went all the way to the back of the cave, and someone with a family, their kids were running around, and he knocked my lantern over, broke the wick. I didn't know it because their light was still strong. And then they said, well, let's go. And they all left. And I was the last person in, and I had a little tiny burning ember. And that's how I found my way out. It was really scary. So you like to snowshoe. Is this what your snowshoes look like?
Not anymore.
Yeah, I didn't think so. These are military, actually. These are snowcraft from Maine, and they've got the 1944 Army markings on here. And so these were actually made for military service. They're called bear paws because of the shape. And they're priced at $165 for the pair, which is really a pretty reasonable price these days. Most people around here, there's a lot of snowshoeing in this area. I know you like to go.
Mm-hmm. And every cabin that you stay in around here has a pair of those on the wall.
As decoration, exactly. Yeah. And that's the customer, and that's about what they'll pay. There are some nice quality antiques in here too. This is a Moorcroft box. This looks like it's from the middle of their production. Moorcroft being the English company that did a lot of these florals, and they still are in business, and it's just really, really pretty and well painted, and I like the colors. That one's priced at $195. It would have been a cigarette box from about 1950. Now people just use them as dresser boxes. And speaking of boxes, I like this one too because it looks sort of like library books on the end on the shelf, so you wouldn't necessarily notice it, which was on purpose. Then the colorful side is on the back. These were done in Japan. You'll see puzzle boxes too where you have to know the secret to get into them. I'm glad this isn't one of them. This one you just lift and there it is. Oh, and look, there's Scotty's in there.
So cute.
Oh, yes. This would be from about 1935 or so, right before the war, and it's $39, which is a pretty good deal for that, actually. So if you happen to find a piece of cranberry glass that has this particular logo on it, you will look at the back and see that this one is actually by the Pilgrim Glass Corporation. These were the tags that they had on Pilgrim Glass when I first started working with them in the late 1980s. And cranberry glass was their big thing. It had 24 karat gold. They sold just a ton of it. It was so popular at the time. And this handkerchief face is priced at $76. They went out of business over 20 years ago. So Pilgrim is definitely collectible now. Yes, so Matryoshka dolls became political at a certain point in the 80s and 90s, and that little birthmark on the head lets us know that this is supposed to be Gorbachev. And we open it up, and there's Boris Yeltsin.
Ooh.
And let's see who's in here. I can't remember, is that Brezhnev? I think Brezhnev, yeah. Yes. There are definitely collectors of these who like the political ones specifically. Ah, there we go. Ah, Stalin, yes.
Oh.
And Lenin.
Oh.
So we have the whole thing all the way through the end of the Soviet Union. Was that Yeltsin? Maybe I'm wrong about. Maybe that was Khrushchev.
They're all dead now.
Yes, exactly. And so is the Soviet Union. Now it's the oligarchs in control. $59.95 on that one. So this kitty cat is really, 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 really heavy. It is an artist from Maine by the name of John Seymour who worked in the 1980s. And that's your mark, S-E-Y, and a copyright and the date. And so if you see this, it actually is somebody who's known and listed. This is part of a pair, and they are asking $150 for the pair. Very cute frog, 1969. This one's a bank. And I haven't seen this one before, but on the bottom it's got a nice label. This says, I am also a bank. So I guess it was sold as a figure originally by the Brooks Corporation out of the Merchandise Mart in Chicago. Merchandise Mart is this amazing place where at one time a lot of the American companies had showrooms for all of their stuff. And so you would go there and then you'd make your orders and people would fly into Chicago and find cool things like this to sell. I've never seen this guy before. They have him priced at $49. So this one says it's Fengu tribe. You've been to Africa. Do you know where that is?
I had said maybe Ethiopian. I couldn't have been more wrong in Africa. It's about 5,000 miles south to South Africa and Zimbabwe.
Oh, very interesting. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I have a lot to learn about African beadwork. I know Maasai a little bit because I had a big collection of it once. But there's so many great patterns. And I think that as Africa starts to develop more and we see more interest in the continent from people in the West, I think we're going to see more and more people collecting these sorts of things and wanting more scholarship. So I have some study to do. It's always fun shopping with a friend because they notice things that I wouldn't necessarily. And well, you folks get the same thing from shopping with me. So thank you for being here. If you are not subscribed, please do go ahead and do that because it doesn't cost anything. And once you subscribe, you can click the button to be notified of future videos. That way you won't miss any of our shopping adventures and we can all hang out together. This is really nice because it's got all the parts. These are how these wall sconce lamps looked in the 1890s when they were first made. It's got the cranberry shade. It's got the well for the lamp oil, and then you have this very nice Eastlake inspired design metal stamped bracket. This one is painted with a brass finish, and this one complete is $280. We don't generally see them complete with all the pieces anymore. Next to it is a cute little silhouette here too. I always like the ones that have the milkweed in the background because it gives it just a different texture, and somebody tinted it so it actually looks like you've got a sky maybe at sunrise with the child chasing the fawn. Oh, what does she say?
It says, Mother and Dad, no one knows but Mother and Dad about the smiles and the tears we've had. No other is willing and glad to share whatever we have of joy or care. You can read the rest.
No others of years gone by or understand each smile inside, for the dearest hearts on this old earth are the hearts at home of golden worth. That's very sweet. A lot of these pillowcases were sent by service people to their mother and sometimes mother and father. And so you'll see these sayings, but it certainly doesn't have anything specifically to do with Hawaii.
Okay.
And what Mother and Dad don't know, this is kind of neat. I like these flower arrangers from the 1920s. They'd have all this pierce work so that you could do the flowers and stems through them. And then you have this big well for water. Usually they're kind of flat and low, so this one's a little different. It's got a bunch of European scenes. Looks like Holland. I don't know that this was made in Holland, though. I wonder if we can tell. It's got a brass bottom, and there's our mark in it. People like to set big fancy tables in the 20s and 30s, and the Dutch motif was popular then. I have a feeling this is American-made, though, and that Dutchware was just the name. Oh, and then there's a cloth-bound 3 little kittens. Cloth bound was what you had because they couldn't rip the pages. 1912. Kittens have lost their mittens. How would they eat pie with mittens? I just don't really understand this story. Oh, this is a nice little 1930s lamp with the millefiori ball on it, and they're just so beautiful when the color comes out when you light them. And this one has a winged cherub on it. I'm going to try to be very careful of it while I look for a price tag. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yes, cast iron Cupid lamp with millefiori Italian glass globe. And I think that's right. This is probably by the Gerdago company from Italy and priced at $340. And that honestly is a price that this would sell for to the right collector because it is an unusual piece. It looks to me like somebody has taken an enamel piece that might have been from an old card table and mounted it on an old base, but we know probably an old card or game table because it's enamelware and it's got the ace of spades in the middle of it. So that's going to date to probably the 1930s or so, and that's priced at $175. I just don't think that's the original base, but I suppose it's acceptable and at least you could use it.
Looks like a magic lamp on top of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Interesting. And how magic is this? This one is... Oh, this is a Cooper lamp. Okay, yeah. Cooper is a company out of Chicago that did a lot of specialty and novelty lamps, especially around 1990. So this one is relatively recent vintage, but old enough to be vintage. And they were expensive new. I see. Oh, it's a double swan. Okay. There's swans in the handles. And priced at $220, but that's honestly probably less than it costs new.
Wow. That would have been expensive.
Yes. Oh, I remember trying to steal one of these from the neighbor child because I didn't have one, and I hopped on it about 3 feet, and they ran out and took it back from me, which I guess was appropriate. Bouncy horse Made in England. Oh, I didn't realize that any of these were made in England. I would demonstrate now, but the first bounce would kill it and me.
No, this is in my era too.
Yes.
I loved my pet rock.
Oh, you had a pet rock too? Yes, my sister got one for my parents in 1975, and I wanted to keep it, and my parents were like, haha, that's cute, and I think they got rid of it. But this one has the care and feeding of your pet rock, which was the main part of the joke. And it has the original pet rock, which is orphaned and needs a new place to go.
You don't know if that's the original. Someone could have replaced it.
Well, that's true, especially because there's another one in here. Apparently it has a friend, and this one is covered in fur and has Google eyes, but I know that's not the original. So yes, hard to say. But I don't know. It looks a lot like the one on the cover.
Oh, it really does.
Yes.
That is indeed an old rock.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. For those of you who didn't live through this, the whole joke was like, it's the 70s and pets are hard to take care of and children are hard to take care of. So here's a rock because then you won't have to do much. My favorite part is where it says that you can train it. Come. It doesn't work. It just sits there, but you can try. And then they have another one where you praise it and give it approval, and you don't have to give it treats. Stay. It's very good at that. And what was the other silly thing they had? Sit. Sit is good. Stand was a little tougher. I never got mine to do that. And then amusing tricks like roll over. Roll over is really easy. You do this. So one of the dumbest, silliest novelties ever, and the guy became a millionaire based on this. And we can have one now for only $10.
Ooh, I might have to have one.
Yes, that's actually a pretty good price. I've sold them for double that now. So silly. I'm going to put it at the counter. So Laurel saw this tucked away deep and was wondering if it was Holt Pottery, and then got it out and realized it's a little different. And that's because this one is McCoy Blossom Time. And there's the McCoy label on the bottom. And this one's only $20, which is a pretty good price. These usually sell for about $35 or so for this piece. So that's tempting.
That's how you know it's the real McCoy.
That's right, yes. Although there are fake McCoy signatures, but mainly only on the cookie jars. Those are the things you have to be careful of. And then next to it is this interesting thing. This is Holt Pottery. This was after the flower lines went, and this is parchment and pine. This would be the console bowl, and then there'd be two candlesticks that would be on either side of it. And they've only got $20 on that too. It looks kind of funny by itself, but if you have the three pieces and an arrangement in it, it's actually kind of a cool pattern. I've got to show this for Zeno's benefit because he is the vacuum cleaner fan. This is an airway sanitizer, and it works and comes with 11 bags. It says this is going to be right out of about 1950-ish, maybe even a little earlier. And it's got the original woven tube that they used to use that was flexible. And it's just kind of a cool looking thing. I do like the old vacuum cleaners. I kind of understand his obsession with it, although I think it's more because he likes the floor to be clean. Okay, this is the teacher's edition from Sally, Dick, and Jane, and they've only got a couple of them, but see, here it is. It looks just like the book, but this was something that the teacher could put up in front. Do you remember these?
No.
Or was this? Yeah, they only used Dick and Jane and Sally in one class I had, and then they decided they were too old-fashioned and they got rid of them. I think I was right at the cusp. But definitely if you grew up in the 50s and 60s, you probably saw them. And if you have the whole set of these, they're worth about $65 now. So this is a motion lamp, but this is one of the later ones. You notice this base. You also notice it says made in Hong Kong. So this is like 1970s when the companies in the US have stopped making them and they're starting to be made overseas and sold at Spencer Gifts and stuff. It's missing part of the spinner here, but this one's priced at $37.50, and they will sell if it has the interior stuff. This is Niagara Falls, as you can see, one of the more common ones. This one's also shedding its interior. They're just not as good quality as the American ones. Yeah, I wonder what age these are. The brand with 3 stripes. Yeah, these look These look like there's some vintage, actually. I don't remember the cloud.
80s powder blue.
I thought they were 80s from the color, yeah.
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 They're kind of turquoise.
Very interesting, yeah. Old Nikes from this era are really worth a bunch too, especially if it's pre-swoosh, then they're really up there. But yeah, your old shoes, if they're still in good shape, you might be surprised how much they sell for now. I like them. They're actually a great color, and they look like they're in pretty good shape. They don't seem like they were worn a whole ton.
I think I'd keep the tag on.
Yes, the mini pearl of shoes. Wow, here's a very pretty beveled oval gilded antique mirror. And when they say antique, that means 100 years older. And I would say they're right, because look at the gap between my fingertip and the reflection. That indicates a thicker piece of glass, and older glass was thicker. If this was a newer piece, you wouldn't see that gap. And this one is priced at $100. Oh, you thrifted a bunch of that?
I did, and I just thought the pattern was so pretty.
That was made for a company called Joni that was called Dixie Dogwood. And yeah, I really do like that.
Yeah, I think they're so cute. Well, one of them I put under a plant and I ruined it. So I think I'll get another one just to
have a fresh one.
Collection.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I'll hold those. Yeah, I like Blue Ridge. I always have. It's all hand painted, even though they did the same patterns a lot. And it was such an interesting story to me. They were done up in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Tennessee in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And they hired poor women from Appalachia to work and be the painters, because they almost all knew how to paint, because you had to paint for decoration at home because you couldn't afford anything. And so they said, well, here we're going to create these various free-form patterns and you'll just paint china. And it really changed the employment situation in that town for a long time for the better. Oh, and then there's this guy, the Crying Onion Holder by DeForest of California. They were one of the ones that really started doing the anthropomorphic kitchenware. And this led to all of those cute 50s and 60s things by Holt Howard and everybody else. Once they saw that it was being done successfully in California, then they went over to Japan and had pieces made that were similar. This one's priced at $38, which is about right for that piece. This black globe is really cool because it is an original old one. They did finally start remaking these, but they don't say Belgian Congo, because Belgium gave up the Congo a long time ago. This has all sorts of parts of Africa that were divided differently before they got independence. This is Indochina before it was divided up into Vietnam and other countries in Southeast Asia. Siam is called Siam rather than Thailand. So we know this one has a pretty good age to it, and it's in not the greatest condition, which is why it's only priced at $29. It would be a lot more if it was in better shape, but it's a neat one. I've seen two of these in here, so I better show these to you because they're starting to appear in antique stores. They are Italian. They're just not terribly old because these were done by Crate and Barrel. And so you'll see this shape in a lot of different colors, usually with stripes of some sort. They're nice looking. It's priced at $55. It's a nice big piece of glass for the price. They're just not very old, so I don't want people to be fooled. Some nice old radios. The top one is a Coronado. Plays well. They have put new capacitors in. A lot of times when they just don't work, a capacitor or two is the thing, and they don't always even need new tubes. This one is priced at $149. And funnily enough, the big console, Philco, below it is only priced at $150. It used to be there was a big divergence. The floor models were worth a lot more, but a lot of the collectors who like these already have a lot of floor models, and so they really only have room for the tabletop. Well, if you're in the Old West, you need a 10-gallon hat, and this one is about a 25-gallon hat. This is Blenko Glass. They did the hats. Some of them have bands of different colors. This one is clear. It's priced about $150, which is what they usually go for. And by the way, if you folks are interested in memberships, we have a couple of different tiers. You can look below the dash line in the description of any video. You can be with me in a live chat every month. We do extra bonus content and some early access. So take a look at that. We also have Patreon if you prefer to give through that. We're very grateful for all of the extra support that the people who are able to give to the channel. So Laurel was telling me she grew up with this in the house and did not realize it was from Finland. It is Arabia, and they're a great company. This is an anemone pattern. The initials here are for their designer, and this one is I hope I say her name right. It's Ula Procope. I just like this stuff. Anything Arabia is good as far as I'm concerned, and the mid-century collectors definitely love it. Of course, we're out west, so we're going to see saddlery, and this is a nice Mexican tooled leather saddle with all the stirrups and everything, a child size, priced at $175, which is a good deal, actually. A lot of people will hang these just as decoration, but this one looks like it's complete and could be used today. Roseville, yes.
This is the one that I have from my husband's grandpa.
Oh,
Grandma.
that's right.
Yeah, that was Roseville, and it's this kind of coloration.
Yes.
Not the same.
No, that one's Magnolia. You have the Zephyr Lily, I remember, and the Zephyr Lily is one of my favorite patterns. I just love the lilies.
It's really pretty. It's really pretty.
Very deco, too. Oh, I didn't realize that came from his grandfather. That's so neat that you still have that. She found the desert rose at a thrift store.
What was the deal with these? And so I was like, oh, I recognize that pattern.
Yeah, because we had a lot of it when you helped me, and it was super popular back then. And then, the company moved to England, and the quality wasn't the same, and now not as many people are collecting, but it is great stuff. It actually was the most popular dinnerware pattern in history. Now, that one is a different company that made something very similar looking. This one's...
Oh, hers were, I think they were like...
Yeah, see, hers were Desert Rose, which is what you have there. And this is the original mark from about 1940 when they came out. And then they had different marks through the years. But as soon as it went to England, it wasn't as good. And this one's a knockoff. And I'll bet this one's Japanese. Yep. Yes, because it was so popular at the time. Yeah, they made something like 60 million pieces of Desert Rose in just the first 20 years that they were making it. So $4 each at the thrift store. And the thing is that... they do still sell for something online. I have a whole set of it I need to put out for sale. The rim flute bowl is priced at $15. Those are a little harder to find. Another nice piece of Murano art glass. And this one's beveled to set either this way or this way. Cranberry glass, and priced at $40, which is not bad for that piece. This one appears to be Czechoslovakian. Again, there's a little bit of an etched mark there that's a little hard to read, but this one is a nice tall one, and it's priced at $79 minus the discount, so about $60. And that's not a bad price for these. I noticed Jocelyn at Crazy Lamp Lady is starting to really pick up on these, and she's developing a big market for them, so I think prices will go up.
Oh, so she's making lamps out of them?
No, her name is Crazy Lamp Lady. She's got a YouTube site. She's the biggest vintage person in YouTube right now. So if you were not able to afford an official Barbie ponytail case, well, other companies made similar stuff with fashionable looking. In fact, this one's even wearing a Barbie striped outfit. So they were not trying very hard to steal the idea. But this was a company called Neville, and this one's the Gadabout. And you could also put your wigs and hats in here if you didn't put your dolls in here. And this one is cute. It's from the early 60s. This one is $58.95. I'm noticing that, especially when I'm in Seattle, the place I sell, Japanese women are carrying these as purses. So they have a whole booth devoted to Western denim, and a lot of it is vintage. This coat here is vintage. In fact, you can't even really see the tag anymore. It looks like it would fit. This one's priced at $85. And Pendleton is a really big thing in this part of the country, Northwest and Plaid. If you remember the grunge movement, everybody was wearing Pendleton or Pendleton lookalikes. It was very funny when that suddenly spread to Los Angeles in the middle of summer, and people were wearing these in LA when it was 85 on Melrose, and I was just like, come on. Wow, and a lot of Levi's, actually, and some big boy Levi's, 40 by 36. But a lot of these old Levi's, if they are out of production, they're definitely popular. And we've even had people who came to estate sales and bought really shredded ones, and they would send them to Asia, and they would use those as patterns to make pre-distressed jeans because they wanted to make sure it looked worn in the right places, which I think is a very interesting thing. So don't throw your jeans out. They're worth tons of money. Maybe not tons.
Yeah, I have never seen that either. I've certainly never seen anyone wearing them.
No, well, you'd be one big advertisement. Lot Highball. Lots of cowboy boots, too, because we're in that area. And yes, old cowboy boots absolutely sell. If they're too crusty, they use them as planters. So don't throw your old cowboy boots away either. Oh, this is cool in here. I've never actually seen this one. Howdy Doody Piggy Bank. This would have been made by Shawnee in Zanesville, Ohio. And it's just so cute. And he's riding a pig, which is a little strange. I wasn't old enough for Howdy Doody. Maybe a pig factors into that, and I just don't know. There's the bowl to an old Miram Pipe. It doesn't have the stem, but look how interesting it is. After it's been smoked through a lot, they stain, and that's where you get that interesting brown tone. It may be a big price to pay to make a thing look stained, but in the old days, nobody was thinking that way, and they're really neat looking now. Looks like something that you would have seen maybe worn in a store of some sort, but it is a 1950 vintage Union-made yellow collar and cuffs dress. $52. That is just cute. I always get a kick out of these ribbon ladies. They were things that people made out of scrap, especially in the 1930s. And this one's really fun because they did a lot of embroidery in the background. So she's on a field of flowers as well. And they're pretty collectible. They say ribbon ladies because a lot were made out of ribbons. This one is not specifically ribbons, but it's the same type. And they are asking $32 for it. And we are on the road between Seattle and Spokane. There is a picture of Spokane right at the beginning of the 1974 World's Fair. They've just renovated all of those grounds. You've seen me take some pictures from there when we have been at the shows in Spokane. I'll be doing the Custer's Antique Show there in October again. Because I'm a big Studebaker fan, I just had to show this. This is Upper Kittitas County, and Studebaker, there used to be a Studebaker dealership right here in town, and there you see it on the right hand side, and I'll show you something next door that relates to this. But they have a whole bunch of pictures, including of the Avanti, the car I want to own someday. 160 miles per hour off the showroom floor if you bought the right model. So speaking of Studebakers, they are celebrating the old Studebaker tradition here in Cle Elum by having created Studebaker Alley, which is a bunch of restaurants and little shops, and they have the front end of a 1949 Studebaker pickup, just to let you know where you are. I'm so glad you came with me. Thank you.
It was so much fun. It's always so informative too. I learn a lot when I'm just hanging out with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I just really enjoy doing it. And just in case you don't know, Laurel is an award-winning documentary filmmaker. And so it was so nice to have her behind the camera instead of me today. If you thought the quality was better, leave a comment. And we'll see you again soon. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.